welcome to the Artmiabo International Art Festival podcast. I'm your host, Gift Enyadike, here to speak to the minds behind the festival and the participating artists to discuss the ever-growing and ever-evolving African art scene, but also celebrate those who had laid the very foundation for that growth. The 2024 edition of the festival is called Sculptors Odyssey, where we celebrate the art of sculpting through 5 awardees. On this episode, I caught up with the legendary Dr. Adeola Balogun, who participated in the very first festival back in 2022 and is now being awarded for his immense contributions to the field of sculpting and the African art scene as a whole.
For our listeners who may be unfamiliar with you, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Adeola Balogun. I am a visual artist specializing in with a bias for sculpture, and I'm also an educator. I'm a lecturer in Miabo Technology, School of Art, Design and Printing. That is fine art department, right? I'm a chief lecturer there, where I'm also very much active studio-wise, right? So, more or less practicing what I teach, right? So, these are some of the things I do. I've had participated in several exhibitions. Solo. I've had over a dozen of solo exhibitions within Nigeria and beyond, and conferences, residencies. These are some of the areas that these are some of the things I've done, and more so, I've also executed some landmark sculptures in Nigeria, especially particularly in Lagos, and also in the US, UAE, Abu Dhabi, and also in Nigeria. I have several life-size bronze works in the collection of stuff that is Omobaye Mrs. Shilon doing the Art Foundation. That is the founder of Yemisi Shilon Museum at Pan-African, located at Pan-African University, Lekki, Lagos, and several works in private collections, and also Nigerian institutions like you have it in University of Lagos and University of Ibadan. In the University of Lagos, I have what's it called? Symbol of justice, and also in UI, I have towards achieving distinction. That is realized with steel, mild steel, while the symbol of justice and what's it called is it's a 21-foot statue, realizing with bronze. Yeah, so these are some of the works I've done in Nigeria, and I think they have another one at this university in Delta State. That is Bruce. What's it called? I'm trying to recollect that, but located at in Delta State, right? So these are some of my monuments and some of the things I've done over the years.
Yeah. Could you actually tell us a bit more about your artistic and professional journey, like where you started, perhaps what might have inspired it?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think how I started, I mean, right, I want to say right from childhood, I've actually been exhibiting the creative traits when it comes to visual art. This was very obvious, but nevertheless, I never planned to actually study art, right? But because I had something else in mind. But I remember vividly that my uh, secondary school art teacher saw my drawing, right? I mean, because yes, I registered for art in school side, but it wasn't my priority, I thought. So I was, doing something, studying something. I mean, concentrating my effort on something else. In view of the fact that I actually registered for it, so I, there was a day I just okay, let me just visit the studio, the art studio, and see what is happening there, because I felt that I never needed to, concentrate much effort in that, because these are things I do effortlessly. So the day I entered the art studio, I met a class going on, and I just decided to, just pick a sketch pad and started participating in the class. And as at that time, the art teacher stepped out, and by the time he came back, he saw my drawing. The next thing he did was to invite other teachers in the school, to come and see the boy that wanted to bury his talent. Right. To cut a long story short, that was more or less like a turning point in my uh, uh, to actually go for art. Right. And so I did what's it called? I gained admission into Yaba College of Technology, where I did my ND, specializing in sculpture, and later on went for my master's at in the University of Benin, and had my PhD at Delta State University, Abraka. Right. So I think that is my story, how I, and maybe I should also add that after graduating from Yaba College of Technology, I mean, I actually topped my class, and the HOD then, that is, he's now a professor in the US, Professor Toluti Filani, found it pertinent to, have me in the department. And it's more or less like immediately I graduated, I was more or less, I was absorbed into the system, and I started teaching right from then on. Right. So the first, what's it called? Exhibition, because there used to be an annual exhibition by lecturers in the department, and in 1995, when I joined the department, I participated in the exhibitions, and that was where I was introduced to the art world, I would say. Yeah.
That's very it's amazing, an amazing story and journey there, sir. So you were a participant in the very first Artmiabo International Art Festival in 2022 there, and could you perhaps tell us a bit about your view on the festival as a concept, and also perhaps your relationship with the host of the festival, Mrs. Miabo Enyadike?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I think it was a chance encounter with Miabo. I actually there was this day I was just heading home, and I met her just by the roadside. There's this guy just beckoned me. There was his traffic, in Lagos. Certainly, you always run into traffic. And I met this guy. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but a friend of the Enyadike, And he beckoned me right in the front of a bank, and I look at my mirror. I already passed by, but I look at my mirror. The traffic was still holding me down, and I now beckoned him that he should come. And by the time he came, he was surprised that I could pick him and give me a ride. And we got talking. I introduced myself, and I said, "Wow, that there's this friend of his, Miabo. She's based in South Africa. He's an artist. I mean, he would like to introduce me to her." To cut a long story short, around that, I think a few weeks later, the Miabo family visited Lagos, and I was introduced to Miabo. I remember that particular evening joined the family in the hotel suite, and we shared our albums. She saw my albums, and she was amazed. And because more or less we are more or less exploring the same many things in common in terms of materials, ideas, our studio trajectories actually, very, very similar. And that was where he hit it up. And a very energetic woman. And when she now got to know that I lecture in Yabatek, she said, yeah, she would also like to, have a workshop on how you can actually, use social media, because she felt that, look, you need to project these your words in social media, that you're not doing enough with it. And she said that, well, she would like to come to Yabatek to, facilitate a workshop on, how artists can actually take advantage of the social media to project their works. It was a big one because we actually, the invitation went viral. A lot of people participated. We have a huge auditorium, that is Yusuf Drillo auditorium, was filled to the capacity, and it was a very successful exhibition because as at that time, I can't remember precisely the year, right? But I think it happened the following year we met, and we met. People learned a lot on how because she has actually been taking advantage of this to project her works, and there and then she discussed the idea of Artmiabo international festival with me, and as well, exactly as well. That would be interesting, and that was where the whole thing actually culminated in me participating in the first Artmiabo. It was at the same venue, that is Ebony Life. It was an international exhibition anyway, so a lot of participants from different parts of the world, participated in the what's it called, the festival. And it was an avenue for me as well to also network, because we had a lot of people from different parts of different artists, art connoisseurs, art enthusiasts, collectors, came around during the festival. And I want to say that it was a huge success for the participants, And once again, I think I want to give kudos to Miabo for this particular initiative. I mean, for her to have actually embarked on that and still sustaining it. I think this is going to be the third year. I mean, having such a huge event, it's not a joke. I mean, she's putting everything, and this time around, it's going to be bigger. Every year, the festival keeps on, growing bigger and bigger. And to my surprise, she had seen my practice. And you know, I the last show I solo show I had at Signature Gallery, that is at Ikoyi, Lagos. I think she saw the show and all that stuff that I've been doing, and her team find me worthy of being counted among the awardees. So I'm quite excited about that, and I think it's such a big honor to me, and I want to appreciate Artmiabo International and her team for this particular honor. You know, it's not an easy task, you know, because I was part of you know, the team for the first one. I, you know, saw the kind of energy she pumped into the whole thing. You know, I just want to give kudos to her, and a lot of challenges, but she lived up to it. She braced up to it, and the whole thing panned out well. So it's such a she's such an inspiration to, you know, all the artists. You know, I mean, for if she could do that, then that is an inspiration to others, that we need more people like that in order for us to actually, you know, expose people, I mean, artists from different part of the world to, you know, such opportunities. So I want to appreciate her and her team for this particular, you know, honor. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer. You actually mentioned, which was going to be my next question, you mentioned the award and the other awardees. You yourself, sir, you're widely regarded as an artist. So I'd like to know your thoughts and your feelings, a little bit more about your thoughts and feelings about being counted amongst the likes of Adebisi Adebayo, Pius Waritimi, and the late Professor Ben Nwonu.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've actually, you know, been awarded with several such, you know, been recipients of such, you know, different awards, both in Nigeria and beyond. But this is more came as a pleasant surprise to me, because when you look at the caliber of you know, artists, sculptors that are being honored, I mean, where you have the likes of late Benin Wowu, you know, I mean, for you to be counted, you know, in such category, I think it's a big honor to me. And the facts that I remember the last Artmiabo International Festival, awards were given as well to the, I think I mean, there was, you know, there was an award, Shegun. Okay, this guy was actually given, and Professor Bruce Onobrakweya too was honored because it coincided with his birthday. And I mean, to have done that, and now to, you know, take the award to a bigger, you know, level, I think it's something that is remarkable and commendable, right? And it's no fluke if you look at the caliber of artists that have been awarded. Certainly, it's not because you know, for some years I've you know, had a relationship, professional relationship with Artmiabo, but it's because I know that certainly she was not the only one that, you know, there's a committee when you have such an award. Certainly there must be, you know, caliber of the caliber of what's it called? The committee must have been carefully selected, and to find me worthy of being, you know, given the nominated for the award, right? I think it's something that I really want to, you know, appreciate, because like I said earlier on, it's a pleasant surprise to me, but at the same time, you know, I want to believe that part of those things that are put into consideration took into cognizance when you want to do such. You want to look at what's it called, studio practice of the artist, the consistency, the commitments. These are things that, and I want to believe that to a large extent, I've been, putting in my best into that. I mean, it's no joke. I mean, I had my 13th solo exhibition that was in 2022, and by next month, I'll be having another participating in. There's a 2-man exhibition coming up, and at the same time, I'll also be having, participating in Artmiabo International Festival. I mean, for one to be able to live up to that expectation, which means that one must have been very hardworking and consistent. So I want to believe that these are some of the, things that were taken into consideration for me to have been, counted among these the awardees for this year's event. So, like I said, it's a great honor because you have there are a lot of art. What's it called? A lot of sculptors in Nigeria, because good enough. The Sculptors Association of Nigeria has actually been invited, and they are actively preparing to participate in the Artmiabo International Art Festival. So, to have been able, for you to have been selected for that, certainly many sculptors must have been, looked at, and before pruning it down to the number of the awardees we have. They have. So I want to believe that it's such a great honor, to have been considered for this award, and that was for us. Well, it's a big one for me. It's not the first time I'll be, receiving awards, but I want to count this, very special, very dear to me, in view of the fact that it's, when you look at the caliber of artists that have been considered for the awards, I think this is a big one as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it's actually a perfect segue into my final question. So you had spoken about dedication, hard work, the meeting of expectations, and also congratulations again on that. First and foremost, on your award and on your exhibitions that'll be coming up. You're no doubt familiar with the notion that as an artist, you're only as good as your last performance. I'm sure you've heard it before, your last performance, your last piece, your last project. But I want to ask, on a personal level, regardless of public perception of what people might have said, is there a piece, an art piece, a project, even an exhibition, or just anything that you have done that you count among your best work, where whether it was just the idea from the idea forming in your head to the labor, the physical labor of creating this thing, and then the final product where you finally sat back and observed what you had created? Is there something that you look at as your best, as one of your best work?
Yeah, I think that's a big. How do I? For every piece that I do, I think I put in my whole being into it, right? And you can actually perceive this. My last solo shows, which I titled, Transmogrification. You can check that out. It's actually, alluded to some of the, the current contemporary issues we have, especially when it's regarding, technology, right? The impact of technology globally. And if you look at it, you discover that it's a two-way thing, and that was why I've been working on some series which I titled Goldmines and Landmines. Right? What do I mean by this? It's about the fact that when you look at technology, AI and other stuff like that, you'll discover that depending on how you perceive it or use it, it could be a landmine for you. A lot of opportunities. I mean, when you look at cyberspace, certainly a lot of opportunities there. At the same time, if this is not properly, navigated, certainly it could be a landmine. Many people's life have been destroyed by this particular technology, while a lot of people are also benefiting from it. So I'm taking this, starting from here, to actually relate this to, the direction of my, works. I mean, because I'll be featuring some of these works in the Artmiabo International. And what I also tell people is like, you can actually see me taking advantage of the AI, technology in the execution of this, particular series of work. And for every work that I execute, especially for sculpture, certainly you have to be, be determined. You have to be hardworking. You have to be focused to be able to actually finish a piece. Depending on the complexity of the form anyway. So, and if you've seen my work, certainly you will discover that when it comes to execution of the work, I put in many things in terms of material, in terms of idea, in terms of energy that I put into every of my work. So it's difficult for me to say, oh, this particular piece, is the most challenging or the most interesting, because, the way I work, certainly, the idea first. And when it comes to art, it's different from craft. With craft, certainly, where you are, where you're starting, you already have your, direction mapped out, right? You have your, how you're going to start, how everything will be done, and where you are going, the destination of your work, how it's going to end. You already have it laid out. But this is different when it comes to, the mainstream art, that is creative art. You can start with an idea. It will be very difficult for you. It might be very difficult for you to say precisely how it's going to end, because for a creative work, it will keep on evolving, right? And that is why for some artists, I do that. I'll start a work, and if it's not going the way I want, what I normally do is to just, push it aside and let it do something else. And by doing that, certainly over time, the work, will mature, and I can still come back to it to continue. So with this, you discover that it's difficult for you to say, oh, this is going to be your masterpiece. It's difficult for you to say, oh, this is how this work will turn out. It's one thing for you to create a job. You are so much engrossed with it. You are so much passionate about it. But at the same time, it might be that well received by the public, right? And that is why some works that failed, it's not as if maybe the artist or the creator doesn't want it to be successful, but because of the perception or the way it's received outside there, right? But for every art that an artist creates, I want to tell you, a piece of his soul is going to that, and you put in everything to it. So it's a two-way thing, right? You can, enjoy it, and what you're enjoying, it's like one man's meat might be another man's poison. What you think you've done, it's fantastic, might not turn out the other way outside there. And that is why when I create, I don't create in order to satisfy anybody. No, it's about, because if art is about the externalization of your ideas, right? It's coming from you, from you, then it shouldn't be about wanting to satisfy somebody, but expressing yourself, putting out your experiences, putting out your ideas out there. And when you do that, it's like giving back to a baby, right? You as the as the creator that labored, that went to the labor room to create this, to have the baby, you, whether you like it or not, it's your baby, you definitely love the baby. So for every piece that I produce, certainly I love every bit of it, because like the saying goes, monkey might not be fine, but in mama like him, somebody, if you see a baby monkey, yeah, it might look ugly, but the mother wouldn't joke with it. He wants to put in every fiber of herself to protect that baby. So it's about me first to enjoy the work. That is why at times I find it difficult to even let go of some of my works, because the first thing is that I want to have it in my environment. I want to enjoy it, and at times, but at a point you just have to let go, because it's like you have a baby. By the time he attains maturity, it's just he or she just have to go. So, but first, you as an artist, the question is, do you really enjoy what you're doing? If the answer is yes, don't worry about whether somebody out there will like it. But I bet you sometime, somehow, somebody will eventually like it, because it's not everybody that will love your piece. But at the end of the day, somebody will be in your frequency that will actually fall in love with that piece. So no piece should be discontinued, right? I want to say that. So for every piece I produce, I put in my best into it, and with that, it's not bread and butter. So for you to say, oh, it must be sold right away, no, it might and it might not be, but eventually somebody will want to process it. That is art for you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for that answer. And that's very important advice for any young artist going into this. So thank you very much for your time, Dr. Balogun. This was a phenomenal interview. Once again, congratulations on your award. I look forward to just seeing you up there on stage receiving your award. And again, congratulations and the best of luck with your upcoming exhibition.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure interacting with you, Gift. It's a big honor, and I really enjoy every bit of it. Thank you very much. God bless you.
You too, sir. Have a good day.
Yeah, bye.
The 2024 edition of the Artmiabo International Art Festival will take place at Ebony Life Place on the 29th of April to the 1st of May, with VIP viewing on the 29th at 6 p.m. Please subscribe to the podcast so you can be notified of new episodes when they are released.